Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we've heard a lot of accusations and sensationalism thrown around here today, which is not new for this committee. But I do think we need to be clear about what we're really talking about today and what the so-called sanctuary city policies actually mean. What Republicans are calling sanctuary cities, it simply means that a city or a state is not going to do the job of ICE for them. That's it. Republicans are acting like there's like a mythical barrier that keeps ICE completely out of cities. If you're listening to Fox News, they make it seem like they're police at the borders of Chicago keeping ICE agents out. And that's simply not the case. Republicans want every town, city, state to dedicate their limited resources to entering what's called a 287G agreement with ICE to either do their enforcement work on the ground or hold people in custody for an additional 48 hours on detainers. That's 48 hours beyond the lawful detention. To be clear, that is illegal. In more than 700 counties in at least 9 states, there are policies or court decisions limiting these ICE detainers, as it is such a blatant violation of the Fourth Amendment. And when people's Fourth Amendment rights are violated, it's the cities, not ICE, who face civil lawsuits. As a reminder to Republicans, the Fourth Amendment is the one against unlawful searches and seizures. Just last year, New York City's Department of Corrections had to pay $92.5 million in a settlement to those they unlawfully detained for ICE. Republicans are putting these mayors between a rock and a hard place. And the reason that they're doing this is because Trump is trying to get them to do illegal things. If they work for ICE, they risk violating their own residents' constitutional rights and opening themselves up to costly litigation. But if they don't do Trump's bidding, they're being threatened with losing federal funding. Today's hearing is nothing more than a shakedown against the mayors of some of our nation's biggest cities and a part of Trump's ongoing anti-city crusade. In Trump's America, if you disagree with his priorities, then you lose federal dollars. Just last week, Donald Trump actually called city leaders who oppose his cruel policies sick politicians. Just a few days before that, his border czar, Tom Homan, threatened that he would be bringing hell on the city of Boston. Mayor Wu, what do you think about these threats against Boston and their attempts to force you to enact policies that are against the very things your constituents voted for?
The laws are most important and the safety of our residents are most important. And what I hear from all of our residents across every one of our neighborhoods is that, in fact, undermining the trust is what would make our city less safe. And so we need everyone to feel secure in their communities, like they can reach out, they can call 911 when they need help. And in our city, those laws actually help Boston police solve crimes.
Thank you. Mr. Beer, question for you. I'd always thought that my Republican colleagues were strong supporters of state and local sovereignty and were against intrusion from the federal government. Do you think this lawsuit seems consistent with that position?
Oh, absolutely not. If you look at the Supreme Court precedent on this, it came from a gun control law that said that state and local governments had to cooperate with the federal government on gun control. The Supreme Court said that's unconstitutional. Not a single member on this side, I believe, would be against that Supreme Court decision.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing illegal about protecting people's constitutional rights and due process, education, and equal treatment under the law. But it is illegal for the federal government to withhold federal dollars that these cities' taxpayer dollars have gone towards. Mayor Johnson, Chicago ranks as one of the largest cities in the U.S. and has the 3rd largest metropolitan economy, boasting a GDP of $860 million. This makes it one of the most economically diverse cities in the nation, correct?
That is correct.
Would it be fair to say that your city generates billions in taxpayer revenue and that the average taxpayer in Chicago and Illinois contributes more than around $20,000 in federal income taxes, which is more than $1,310 above the national average?
That is absolutely correct.
So can we conclude that Chicago residents pay significantly more in taxes than they receive in return, contributing at least $5 in taxes for every $1 they get back in federal support?
More than our fair share.
Thank you. Only 9 states have taxpayers that contribute more to the federal government than they receive. All 4 of our mayors are from states on that list. Yet Republicans are saying that they should lose that money because they don't agree with their dear leader. Trump and Republicans are attempting to take money from blue cities and blue states and give them to their red states. Republicans too often demonize blue areas and cities that are the very areas that are keeping the economy going. The attacks we've heard on mayors today are not only shameful, they're dangerous capitulations to the impulses of this president who is trying to expand executive power in nearly every direction. I'd like to thank our mayors, Wu, Johnson, and Johnston for coming in today, having the strength of courage to stand up to this administration. Thank you. I yield back.
Chair recognized.